Hi student, welcome to week 7 KF 3013 project management. This week we're going to learn about project planning and development. My name is Muhammad Azri bin Khairi. I am a senior lecturer at Department of Civil Engineering, and at the same time I am a deputy director at Center of Entrepreneurship and SME Development, UKM SASMET. A bit about my education background. I completed my bachelor degree and PhD degree at Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia in Civil and Structural Engineering. In 2016, I joined UKM as a postdoctoral researcher, and at 2017, I joined UKM as a senior lecturer. My project management experience, since 2017, I handle almost 1 million ringgit project. I started with a small grant from UKM, and then with the Ministry of Education Malaysia. In 2018, I have been awarded a 130,000 ringgit Malaysian grant from Hasanah Foundation, and also 826,000 grant from Malaysian Highway Authorities. All of this project I handle as a main researcher or a project leader. Let's start our lecture. I will start with project planning and development fundamental, and then will be continued by guest lecture Datuk Dr. Syed Naguib Syed Abu Bakar from Project Planning and Management about real-life project management. Over the past 20 years, businesses around the world have undergone rapid change. No longer customer happy with their status quo of product and services. They expect business to adapt rapidly to the changing environment by providing more offerings cheaper and faster than before. The rate of change has forced business to transform their operational processes into the project-based initiative. This transformation has been without risk, as a larger percentage of projects, which are more than 70%, projects fail to deliver their project on time, budget, and quality as expected. What is a project? Project in general refer to a new endeavor with specific objective and varies widely that it's very difficult to precisely define it. American National Standard define project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product or service or result. ISO 1006 has defined project as a unique process consists of a set of coordinated and controlled activity with start and finish date undertaken to achieve an objective conforming to specific requirements, including the constraint of time, cost, and resources. As a student, I believe you have undergone a lot of projects under your residential college community or faculty. For example, a charity project such as providing food for the needy, painting, wall mural, fashion show project, or of course assignment project. Each of those projects has a unique processes, consists of a set of coordinated and controlled activity with start and finish dates, and undertaken to achieve an objective conforming to specific requirements, including the constraint of time, cost, and resources. There are 4 types of project, which are manufacturing project, where the result is a vehicle, ship, aircraft, and a piece of machinery, or etc. Construction project, resulting in erection of building, bridges, roads, tunnels, and etc. Mining and petrochemical project can be included in this group. The third type of project is management project, which include the organization or reorganization of work without necessarily producing a tangible result. For example, it will be the design and testing of a new computer software package, relocation of a company's headquarters, or the production of a stage show. And last but not least, the fourth project types is research project, in which the objective may be difficult to establish and where the results are unpredictable. Next subtopic, project characteristic. Despite diversities, projects share the following common characteristic. Number 1, unique in nature. A project is unique in that it is not a routine operation, but a specific set of operations designed to accomplish a singular goal. So, a project team often include people who don't usually work together, sometimes from different organizations and across multiple geographies. Number 2, projects have definite objective to achieve. A project is completed when its goal and objective are accomplished. It is this goal that drives the project, and all the planning and implementation effort undertaken to achieve them. Sometimes, project end when it determines that the goals and objective cannot be accomplished, or when the project or service of the project is no longer needed and the project is cancelled. Number 3, project requires set of resources. Resources are required to carry out the project tasks. They can be people, equipment, facilities, funding, or anything. It's required for the completion of a project task. Optimal resource scheduling is the key of successful project management. Number 4, project have a specific time frame for completion with a definite start and finish. Number 5, project involve risk and uncertainties. Project usually has possibility of challenges in achieving the project objective due to uncertainties. For example, change in policies, changing preference of consumer, strikes, and etc. You will learn this in details in the topic risk assessment and mitigation plan. And last but not least, project characteristics requires cross-functional team and interdiscipline approach. Let's move to project performance. Measuring performance is a critical factor in optimizing performance. Optimal performance is sustainably achieving multiple, often conflicting objectives under changing conditions. In project management, different project managers have various definitions of success depending on their experience, knowledge, and context. Three major dimensions that define the project performance are cost, time, and quality. These parameters are interrelated and interactive. The relationship generally represented as an equilateral triangle. It is evident that any change in one of the dimensions will affect the other. If the scope enlarged, project will require more time for completion and the cost will also go up. If time is reduced, the scope and cost will also be required to be reduced. Similarly, any change in cost will be reflected to scope and time. Successful completion of the project would require accomplishment of specific goals within scheduled time and budget. In recent years, a fourth dimension, a stakeholder satisfaction, is added to the project. However, the other school of management argues that this dimension is inherent part of the scope of the project that defines the specification to which the project is required to be implemented. Thus, the performance of project is measured by the degree to which these three parameters, scope, time, and cost, are achieved. Okay, now let's learn about project life cycle. In general, there are 4 phases in project life cycle: conceptualization, planning, execution, and closure. Every project, from conception to completion, passes through various phases of a life cycle, synonym to life cycle of living beings. There is no universal consensus on the number of phases in a project life cycle. An understanding of the life cycle is important to successful completion of the project, as it facilitates to understand and logical consequences of event in the continuum of process from start to finish. The first phase in project life cycle is conceptualization. This can also be referred to as the initiation phase and is the starting point of project or idea. It usually involves a low number of manpower. It usually involves a project owner and their team members. The number of man hours increase on the second phase of project life cycle. In this phase, they are usually discussed and planned on their project. The third phase is execution. The actual work of the project is performed. It required materials, tools, and resources. The execution phase is the longest period in the project life cycle. Finally, the final phase is closure. This is also called as a termination phase. This phase begins once the project has been completed. You can refer the details of the project life cycle phases in your lecture notes. This approach will help you to setting up tasks, planning the transition from the project team to a line organization, project documentation, project plan evaluation, and for your guideline. There are 13 steps involved in project plan development approach. Step number 1 is to determine the project concept. Step number 2, assess the project. Step 3, develop a strategy for the project. Step number 4 is to identify major milestone and initial schedule. Number 5, define initial budget. 6, identify groups or organization will be involved. Step number 7, determine the method and tools to be employed in the project. Number 8, identify the area of risk and association them with the milestone and tasks. Step number 9, refine the schedule and budget. Number 10, identify project managers. 11, identify and establish the project team. And step number 12 is to develop detailed project plan. Please check the details for each step in the lecture notes. You will be learn each of these steps towards the end of this course. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Datuk Dr. Syed Naguib Syed Abu Bakar. He will share with you the real-life project management that you need to do the job. I will include Doc Syed sharing as a question in E-Ujian 1 on 13 May 2020.
Hi, my name is Syed Naguib. Well, I've done quite a few projects in my life, and some of the projects which involve includes KLCC, KLIA 1, KLIA 2, Putrajaya, the township of Shah Alam, and a few other projects across 31 countries all over the world. You see, when I graduated in 1983, my biggest problem was trying to get people to work with me. Because in most of these projects that I have, we have issues of getting good people with a lot of experience, including myself at that time too. So what I did was I created a system which I named Streetwise Project Management. I hope I can be able to share with you all as much as possible in this 1 hour session. When you all graduate, about 50% of you will most probably become contractors because most of the job in the engineering environment are with contractors. Around 30% of you might become consultants, and the balance will most probably try to go into project management. I mean, these are for the people who actually go into the industry. Some of you might do something else after you graduate. But anyway, all of you, when you graduate, you will be doing project management. As long as you run any process, any production, and outputs are required from you, you have to do project management. So because of that, it is best to learn it and keep it simple enough for you to do your job. Frankly saying, about 70% of what you learn in school, in universities and all that will not be put into real life. But there are some features inside there that you will actually use it so extensively. So let's go down to the next feature. Okay, this is streetwise project management. And typically of all project management, it involves four key elements. The elements are manpower, machineries, material, and this contributes to money. So you have the 4M there, manpower, machinery, material, and money. And all of this will be done within a set time frame. Streetwise project management is also a form of project management, but it keeps things simple. And believe me, it will be the most effective system for you to use upon graduating. I created this system in 1983 because at that precise time I was working in Shah Alam to develop the entire township, and I didn't have any staff which is technically very advanced. I had a supervisor, I had a technical assistant, and that was it. I had to do everything myself. So I created Streetwise Project Management to make life more easier to be done. And if you're going to graduate and you're going to go out into the field as a fresh graduate, this will be something you need to really pick it up. When you do the 4M of project management, every single element is related to the next one. For example, manpower requires your machine to do the job. And of course, to do the job, you need materials. And all of this combined will generate money. Now, there are some rules that you try to need to understand. It's simple. Every manpower will require machinery. And in general, one man must have at least one machine. They can have more than one, especially in terms of tools. And when you run the job itself, the most important feature here is material is always a constant factor. A job becomes expensive because of its manpower and machinery. I'll talk about this more in the productivity index session later. But everything remain in constant with material. Say, for example, the job will require to do and lay 10,000 pieces of bricks. One company might most probably use 5 general workers and 1 concrete mixer. Another company might most probably use 10 general workers and 1 concrete mixer. So it will be very different, and as such, the cost will also be different, mainly because of the manpower and the machinery. Okay, we are now going into understanding productivity index. Productivity index is the ability of a man and or a machine to do a certain job. Normally, productivity index comes with experience when it involves manpower. The more the man has working environment knowledge, his job becomes more efficient and his productivity index is higher. So for manpower, the older it is, the more the productivity index. However, for machinery, it's opposite. A new machine can do more job than an old machine, of course, because of wear and tear. So for manpower, the fresh graduate need to learn a lot more, while the older people actually will be able to do much more. Anyway, generally, let's take an example of a bricklayer. Generally itself also, in the control of the work, one man can lay 500 pieces of bricks. That's an average value. But productivity index is different across race, location, heights, even countries. For example now, an Indonesian worker can lay 500 pieces of bricks per day. But a Thai worker can only lay maybe about 400 pieces of bricks per day. But there is one controlling factor here. The Indonesian may be faster and they do more, but their quality is much, much lesser than the Thai worker. And once quality becomes an issue, the cost can also make a difference. For example, when the Thai worker has done his job, the wall itself will be almost very smooth. So the need to come back and do repairs will be minimal. So therefore, sometimes when you look at things, productivity index, if it's of a higher value, it might not be reasonably good with quality. As I've said earlier, a young person who goes into the project itself will lack experience. But my most important advice I will give to all my new staff is to go and learn on the site itself how to do the job. And the way to learn how to do the job is actually by communicating with the people on the site. The best teacher you can ever get on the site could be most probably the general workers itself, the kepala, the supervisor. You need to talk to them. And when you talk to them, try to extract from them their experience. For example, how you want to do that job, how fast can you do the job? Of course, you have to be quite friendly with them before they will talk much with you. So sometimes it is good to try to bring in an extra drink or a cigarette. I mean, I'm not trying to encourage you to smoke, but on site, almost practically everyone smokes. But when you go to it, just give them some little tokens, and they will teach you things that will expedite your learning experience on the site And tell you the truth, this one will be the most important lessons you will ever learn for the rest of your working life. As a project manager, there are additional 4 rules that you have to do daily in your job: to track, to identify, to report, and to mitigate. It's very simple. You need to be able to track the progress itself and find out what is supposed to be scheduled to be done and what has actually been done. This will tell you the difference between being early, on time, or being late. After you have done that, you need to be able to identify the areas in the project that is not performing or is being delayed. And once you have identified it, try to get as much information on the type of delay, the areas of the delay, and most probably the cause of the delay. You will then need to report this back to the agents, to the bosses, to the consultants, and all the people. And the most important thing is do not just stop and tell them, okay, your job is delayed, etc., etc. No, it doesn't happen. If you talk, it will not go. The rule of the law states that if it's not written, it did not happen. So write it down and then circulate it to all the parties involved. This will be the best way you can put your point forward and cover yourself against future blame. In the construction field, everybody will blame everybody. So this is one lesson you must actually do and do it every day. The difference between a fresh graduate, an executive, and the project manager is the details of the job. The more the detail, the more specific the information will make the difference. A project manager will always know the simple question: who does what when? The project manager also knows when each work must be finished, when each area must be completed, and when the next feature will be about to start. The project professional itself goes to even a higher level. They will know things and what is going on day by day. It is a lot of info to crunch. Of course, you can have softwares to help you with that. Softwares like Microsoft Project, Primavera, and Artemis. But that will be on the later stage if one day I will come and teach you about it. And all companies, all organizations, all corporates and all that, they will be looking for people with this type of skills. It is not easy to find. That's why experience matters. But if you do not have experience, then try to exemplify yourself by doing works with a lot of details. You take a look at the example below here. The amateur will just put in a single bar line and say, to build a road 100 meters long will take you 10 days. Full stop. Yeah, it does tell you that you're going to build that road in 10 days. But a professional will tell you to build a road which is 100 meters long, it will take 10 days. And it will use 3 general laborers, 1 excavator, 1 compactor, 20 meter cube of sand for the base itself, and 60 meter cube of macadams for the tarmac. And he can go on with more details on that. You see there, the professional will come with more details. This is an example of how a project management software can assist the project manager, and actually knowing what is to be done there and then. It's no joke actually. For example, in my last project to build an airport, I had to control 170,000 activities on the site. The total number of resources, which is manpower and machinery on the site alone, is 500,000. So imagine trying to know what is being going on every day, what must comes in next week is a challenge. So this is where using a software will help you actually keep your information up to date as and when you need it. Try to learn Microsoft Project. It is the simplest and yet it is among the most powerful software available in the market. Hopefully your lecturers can give you the time and teach you that in the future. But it will be relevant if you can learn the software as much as you can now and practice it even though you're not studying anymore. Because believe me, if you're going to go out in the real world, the companies, the organization that you're going to work in will want you to use this software. Well, when you're trying to do the job, most probably because of experience, you do not have the knowledge on how to carry it out. But this is an example of what I did when I was given the task to do the VSAT systems installation all over the world. I had to do it across 31 countries for the United Nations. The problem was how many people in the world actually know how to do a satellite system and a VSAT systems that run satellites communication in countries all over the world with speed exceeding 2,000 megabits per second. So the most important thing is never to panic when you get a job and you do not know the job. What you need to do now is to call the team that is going to implement the job and you have a discussion with them. You ask them to list out the task, what they're going to do, and how long each task will take. You ask them also the type of resources that will be involved with each and every one of the tasks. Note, this is where the most important thing is how close you are to the people you are talking with. The closer they are to you, the more honest it is that they will tell you the information. Because one most important feature here is the duration. They're telling you how long it takes to do the job. Because no one will tell you the exact duration. Most probably they'll add in safety factors and they will tell you a duration which is actually longer than what they need. So try to be friendly with them. The next thing that you can do is to draw out the task using a network diagram. That's been from element A, task A, it goes to task B, and from task B, it goes to task C, D, etc., all the way to the end. And from there, convert this network diagram into a Gantt chart, or what you know as a timeline chart. And once you have done that, you share back this chart to the implementing team and you tell them if it's possible, this is what you want them to do. Of course, sometimes when they tell you the duration they need to do the job in 10 days, you should try to lower it down, maybe 9 or 8 days. But don't try to lower it too much because sometimes it becomes impossible. So experience here also help, and the friendliness of you with the contractors or the implementers will also help. Okay, I'll try to cover up a few points for you and hopefully it'll just give you some ideas of what are the things that can happen to a project. Project failures. Now, it's a fact that about 90% of projects will not be able to be completed on time. There'll be many reasons behind it, and the most important and the most common reason was the initial duration by the client is actually not feasible. But contractors being contractors, they will always try to promise, oh, we can do that job before they get the job. But once they get the job, they know that it cannot be done in the time they promised to. This is something like that is going on for practically eons. And frankly saying, in all my jobs, there will be a lot of hiccups. So the project failures itself that will happen will most probably come in the form of time overshoot, cost overrun, the workforce not performing. This is also related with the productivity index, especially when the workforce that is involved in your project involve multinational. The Bangladeshis are among the worst, slowest performance. The Indonesians could be on a neutral. They could be somewhere between the Thai worker and the Bangladesh. They have the quantity and they have a reasonable quality. The Thai will be the best because they have both quantity and quality, but they're also very expensive. So try to avoid project failure if you can. And the only way to do it is to get into the field itself, look in all areas which is a possible occurrence that can happen. The next will be time delay. Now, majority of projects fail because they track the delay at the end of a week. This is something very dangerous and it's actually happening day to day also. I track my project on a day-to-day basis. If there is a delay today, I will try to recover it either this evening or maybe at the end of the week across the weekend. Do not try to put your delays too far back because it will accumulate and it makes your delay almost unrecoverable. Try to use a methodology called the CPM or the critical path method. This one is the best system that actually has been incurred in the world, and it was already in implementation since 1941 during World War II by the Allied forces. They use CPM to identify a critical area for them to build a bridge, for example, and the shortest time to build a bridge, so they will know when exactly they will need to mobilize their military forces to cross the bridge before the enemy can realize the bridge is complete. So, if it works in a war, it should work in a real life. Okay, this is my last slide, but I think this will be my most important slide for all of you. Try to get your lecturers to teach you a project management software. And to make a project, it has to be quite reasonable in size, say maybe more than 1,000 activities, complete with resources, manpower, machinery, materials, and even cost if it's possible to learn. Of course, you can get the cost by asking the hardware shop how much this costs, how much that costs. But that cost will be about there. It will not be the cheapest, but it will be something reasonable for you to start off. Now, do that project. Do that project and print it out. Print it out and file it into a portfolio or something like a book. And bring that portfolio when you go for a job interview. You see, when you go to a job interview, all of them will have a degree, all of them will have a simple resume, because all of them will not have any working experience before. That is where you, if you bring this portfolio, you'll have an additional advantage against the rest of them, because it will show your future employer that you actually know some form of project management. And that will really help them save time training you and it will of course help you get the job. Now, since this lecture is only about within an hour, if you like to learn more about streetwise project management, and if you have Facebook, most of you most probably have Facebook anyway, go and look for Streetwise Project Management. It is a hidden group and is only allowed for people who have actually learned or attended my seminars. Click to join and I will come and approve you. There's a lot of information inside there, and there's a lot of prospective employers also inside there, from JKR to consultants and all that. So when you go inside there, who knows? When you ask good questions, some prospective employers might be interested in you. Who knows? Things happens anyway. Project management is the way forward. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doc Syed, for the fruitful sharing. I hope this week's lecture not only will help you in your assignment and your exam, but I hope it can be applied in your real life. Please fill the attendance form using QR code or go to bit.ly/kf3103. Have a nice day.